Hello and welcome, Dangerlings. It's Wednesday, and that means it's time to get dangerous. It's, of course, me, your host, James Foxy Lockhart, as usual. And joining me tonight, we have the irrepressible Ross Harmston.
Hello.
The indescribable Dungeon Master.
Utterly indescribable. Hello, everybody.
And welcoming us for the first time to the show, we have Alex from Level Up Dice. Hello, Alex.
How you doing?
There we go. So, we're very, very pleased to welcome Alex on the show tonight. And just before, we're going to be getting into this a little bit later, but can you explain to us, what is Level Up Dice?
Well, Level Up Dice was an idea, actually. About 2015, I had just finished one of my contracts, and I had a sabbatical. And I turned around to my wife and I said, I really want a fancy set of dice. And she looked at me and went, yeah, go for it. Why not? So I went online and tried to hunt for a really cool set of dice, something nice and expensive. And the only one I could find that I really liked, the company wanted me to wait for about 8-9 months. And I was like, this is absolutely bullshit. I want it now. And so I stood up in a rage, and as a like totally jokingly, I said, I could do this better. And Nadia, my wife, God bless her, was like, yeah, you could. And I'm like, yeah, I could. And she's like, yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm not being serious. And she's like, yeah, you could. And her family is all in manufacturing. And she's like, look, let me talk to my family. We'll get this organized. And literally 5 days after that conversation, I was on a plane over to meet her cousins and uncles who all make stuff. And I had to learn how to manufacture. And that was 2015, because I just couldn't wait to have dice.
Oh my goodness. Do you know what? I never thought I'd say this, but you've actually put Ross into the shame, Ross. Shame, there we go. That's a man who likes his products, and he's willing to make them to get them. So we've spoken a little bit about how sort of the conception of Level Up Dice started. But you've got quite an exciting Kickstarter going at the moment, haven't you? So do you want to tell us about what's going on right now?
Sure. Well, I'll put some dice behind my head as well.
There's some dice.
Magic. Interesting enough, if you guys remember from when I was talking about when we first started, the biggest thing for Level Up Dice for me was I wanted the dice straight away. I didn't want to wait. And in fact, when I first launched Level Up Dice, I was like, #why wait? And down with Kickstarters. So anyone who's worked with me will tell you Alex is never going to do a Kickstarter. And that is factually correct up until now, because I didn't want anyone to wait. If you're going to get cool, sexy, amazing dice, you want them straight away. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on which way you're looking at it, when we came up with this project, so I've been working on a fundamental design of how do I break away from your standard 7 dice set since about mid 2017, but haven't really worked out a good way of introducing it so that people would get excited about choosing individual dice, other than, I get to choose a red one, I get to choose a blue one. I mean, it's not that exciting. And in March last year, we met up with Paizo, I always get that wrong, Paizo, and started talking to them about, hey, we should do something together. Mm-hmm. And they're like, 100%, we want to work with you guys. And the idea popped up where I had it sitting there going, hey, look, could we do something that we could come up with a variety of dice that represent different aspects of the character, and then sell them in a way that you can pick and match? So literally, the idea was, you've gone to town, you've just grabbed a bunch of money from killing a bunch of goblins, and you want to buy your next item. So you walk into the store, because every town has the store that has everything, because that's how the RPG world works. And you go, I want this axe and this hammer and this new spell, etc. And so the idea was, how could we replicate that feeling of, I've got my character and I'm leveling up, I'm getting new equipment into dice. And so this first started getting created when we started having the ideas, and by August we'd had the overview of it, and I'm like, this is going to be a problem, because at first setup, we're looking at probably at least 200 designs, because I'm a completionist. I'm not the kind of guy that goes, I'm only going to do 4 designs. We'll see if everyone likes it, then we'll do more. Mm-hmm. If you're going to do this, Oh, we've gone green. That's okay. I got told to ignore it.
I was trying so hard, Alex, and you went. I'm
Look,
sure
it's the 80s feel. I love it.
he's green with envy, having seen your beautiful dice there. But
so yeah, we had like 200 designs, and I'm like, well, I'm not going to pick. Hey, we're only going to launch Fighter first because everyone's going to be like, well, what about me? I want to play an Oracle, I want to play a champion, and so. To set it up, even with just 5 colors, you're looking like at 1,000 different dice to be kept on hand. And to be honest, with COVID in 2020, it'd be hard to try to calculate how many of each of these 1,000 dice, different types, I'd need to have. And then what happens if someone orders one and then that one's out of stock, so they can't order the whole set, and it would just cause a nightmare, an experience that people would not enjoy. Mm-hmm. And so instead, Sean, my project lead on this, was like, it was a Friday meeting, and he goes, so Alex, unpopular opinion, this should be a Kickstarter. And I'm like, no, grumble, this shouldn't be a Kickstarter. and he's like, look, it should. And that's a great thing about my team, is everyone's always free to say exactly what they feel, and there's never anything negative in that regard. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I know you're probably right. I'm going to take the weekend to yell at a wall, and then on Monday, I'm on board. And so literally that weekend, I was like playing zombie games, killing thousands of zombies, just going, oh, why am I going to do a Kickstarter? And then on Monday, I was like, let's do this. This way, everyone could get everything straight up front, and they can make their perfect character. We can get some data, understanding of what people like. So if everyone wants flame dice, well, then maybe we'll hold flame dice in stock. Mm-hmm. And we'll figure out from this Kickstarter, how do we make sure this keeps going forward? Do we keep X amount in stock? Do we do a monthly order where everyone can put their orders in, and then we'll produce to order? Or do we do another Kickstarter? So it's going to be a learning curve for us on how we can best continue to supply this style of dice, mm-hmm. where you can make and design your own set for you in the future as well, which is really exciting.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it sounds a terrific idea. Really, really sort of good, because there's nothing like buying something and actually getting something different, and being like, whoa, I actually bought an axe and a blade and things like this. Now I am bereft of dice. Thank you to the world situation. I do not. I have none in front of me. However, Dan and Ross, you do have, you lucky devils, you, sets of these dice, and I'm literally drooling at the mouth. So, what are your impressions? We've got a picture on Alex's screen, but these are them in the flesh, as it were. So, what are your impressions?
Well, if you've been on any of our social media, you'd have seen we've been sharing our sets on there as well, so you can see them much better than us holding them up to webcams. I specifically have Velda's set, which you may have trouble getting off me because I really like it. They're lovely. They're really well made. So they're metal dice. The thing I really like about them is that I struggle with metal dice sometimes because of the weight of them, because they're very heavy. Like Ross, you've got your giant D20.
Oh, yeah.
You don't really roll. You just kind of drop it onto the table, and it leaves a dent. Whereas these are really light. Like they roll like normal dice. But they have their design. So every one of them. So we've got a wizard dice for Velda. He's got the wizard symbol on the 20. He's got a club for your staff. Just got a club on it. You've got a crossbow. You've got force dice, D4s with a little force symbol on it.
Nice.
They're really nice. So and the nice thing is they're different colors. I'm a big fan of having dice in different colors, because it makes it easy when you're teaching people the game. You don't have to explain what a D10 is. We talked about this in the beginner's box review. It's very nice to say, grab the green one, or grab the one with the explosion, with the fireball symbol on it. That's your fireball dice. Just roll that. You don't have to teach people what it is. I assume, Alex, can people pick their colors when they do it, or are their colors sort of set design?
So we're literally $400 away from unlocking the first color stretch goal, which you'll see 3 of the dice in my background here. They're the multicolors. These 3 are, you got black and red, black and green, and black and gold. And what's super exciting, and we're actually, I think, launching a video today, but you guys get a sneak here about this first, is that this is a world's first in regards to anodization of aluminium. We're actually using a reflective metallic color on the secondary color. So no one's done that on aluminium dice before in the dice industry. So they actually literally, I don't know if I get it on the camera, but they shine as if you like got treasure, which are absolutely stunning. So after you've backed, at the end of the Kickstarter, there'll be a backer kit. Imagine it's like an online store, really. And you'll be able to go through with the money you've backed and decide every single die and every single color. So at the present moment, if we hit this $400, there'll be 15 colors to choose from and 200 designs. So that'll be 10 base colors, which you've got. Let's see how good I go. Red, green, blue, black, gunmetal gray. And then the extra 5 that got added were purple, yellow, orange, light blue, and I'm not gonna remember, and pink. Perfect. And then the dual colors getting launched hopefully today, if you guys can help us hit that goal, is all of them are base black, and you've got black red, black green, black gold, black purple, and black, what am I missing? Blue, gold, yeah, blue. And then the next 5 they get launched in $5,000, which I think we can definitely hit before the end of the Kickstarter, are some of my favorite multicolors, like mixing green and purple, like that purple sort of rain, and blues and purples together and everything else, and red and blues. That's really exciting. So yeah, as of right now, if we hit the $400, 15 times 200 is what, 3,000 different choices of dice.
That is stunning amount. And yeah, I mean, just seeing them on here on the webcam, they look absolutely beautiful. Like, you know, because I think it's very important. Dice, certainly at the moment, you can, if you go into a gaming shop, you can see the little sort of poly dice that have been around for years and years. And, you know, even then, there's quite a few colours, there's quite a few choices. People like choice. And boy, are you offering them choice. That's phenomenal. And it's interesting, we mentioned earlier about weight and Ross's small meteorite of a D20. Ross, how's the weight there? Because these are aluminium dice, aren't they, Alex? Is it?
That's correct.
Yes. So how do you feel of the weight there compared to your die the size of a fist?
I mean, these have got a really nice weight. They're not like really light, but they've got a little bit of, and they feel nice in your hand when you're holding it and when you're rolling it. I like the cut as well. The cuts are really nice. I mean, I'm not a dice manufacturer, but I like the cut, if that's what you call it, I guess. And I really like that, you know, these are really good for people who have just picked up the game, especially because they have the thing that you're using to roll that dice with. So say I'm rolling with my damage for my great axe. I would use the one that's got the little great axe symbol as on the dice, and I like that. I think that's quite a good, like, if you don't have different colors, you definitely have different designs for the different damage of the weapons, which is really cool, and I really like that.
We found another use for them the other day. So in the event anyone decides to go out and buy one of everything, in regards to patterns, so it's about 200 dice as opposed to in regards to like every color, or grab yourself a little pouch or something and put all the dice in there, and then make a character by pulling out dice. So we pulled out a couple of D20s and ended up being a cleric and a mage, and then we pulled out some weapon dice, and then we pulled out some damage dice, and we had to try to create a character around the dice we pulled out. So it's a great way to character generate too.
Yeah.
So I had a fighter mage who used shock damage with a club, and I had to try to figure out how do I design a character around these dice I've just pulled out. So, you know, there's multiple ways that we haven't even thought of yet that these will be useful, because they represent elements of a game. So they don't have to just be dice for your character. They can be dice used to generate characters. They can be dice used to find treasure. I mean, as a DM, can you imagine if you had a stack of dice there and you go, cool guys, instead of rolling on the treasure table, put your hand in here and you pull out a sword. Oh, look, you guys found a sword and it's got this enchantment, and you pull out the runes and it's a flaming sword, for example. So it adds new elements of how you can storytell, because you have the actual elements of the game on a physical piece of equipment as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's, you know, a couple of points you made there are so true, that when your weapon tends to define a lot of your character. Like you tend not to, I don't know about everyone else, but you tend not to change your core weapons very much. Like Fulton's got a great axe and so-and-so's got a big broadsword and things like that. So if you get these die, you do feel like, that's my trusty battle axe right there, you can keep using. But really interesting to hear if you think about the different ways you can use the dice, because you could, if you're a particularly generous DM, Dan, you could have, say, a quest item that you spend 6 months trying to get that is represented by that die, and then eventually someone's going to get up with the sword of ultimate slaying. But you can have it on show, like a sort of 80s kids show. Oh my God, I'm getting excited just thinking about it. But
I mean, imagine this, right? You're playing your own adventure. You get to the big bad. The DM lifts up his screen and starts rolling with the big bad's dice, and you can see on the dice he's using a sword, and you can see it's doing flaming damage. So you know that as soon as you've killed that guy, those dice are available to be looted.
Oh,
yeah, that's cool.
Oh, that is so cool. I love it. Is this giving you some ideas as a DM, Dan?
It really is. I like that idea of giving it, or having if you're playing first edition Pathfinder, and you've got to confirm critical hits. You can have a crit die. You can just have a dice that you hand to people when they have to confirm their crits. Like you can have special dice for things. And I should say, I'm like Ross. I'm not a dice person. I've been using the same set for most characters for a while. But I was surprised to be excited. But they are very, very pretty. The art goes on the art's on every face. It's not just. You get a lot of dice that are lovely and have a sort of the 20 or the 1 has some artwork on it. But to have one that kind of every face of it is designed is lovely. One thing I'm interested in, I guess, Alex, is why Pathfinder? With a lot of, I know you make dice for a lot of different systems. What was it about this project that kind of fit it with Pathfinder?
I feel like going, why not? But
I put my hand in the dice bag.
What have you got against Pathfinder? So I've played lots of different RPGs, and for me, it's about finding the right fit for a project. So I've got a little purple book, and it has all my different ideas, and I've got way too many ideas for my lifetime because I don't sleep. I just come up with crazy and dumb ideas. Some of them are good, yay! But it was organic. So whenever I'm talking to anyone in regards to making dice, it becomes a fluidic sort of conversation where like, cool, what are you guys interested in? What do you guys like? And then I'll sort of flick in my head going, I've got these different projects and ideas. Could I match any one of these to this individual? And when I was speaking to John over at Paizo, it just sort of clicked that his vision of what he really wanted in regards to something to do with dice, level up dice, and Paizo, because they over the last year or so have really pushed towards more of a luxury feel. They've got the giant goblin, they've done a Beetle and Grimm, and everything else. So there was definitely a destiny for us to work together anyway, and it just felt right at that time. And probably one of the advantages for us was that they gave us access to their entire library. We could use any images, we could use any aspect of the game. And so when you get given that literal, Monty Hall find, you can then apply to anything. And this project needed something that huge access to a library. And so like every single image on every single one of these dice is fully licensed, has been approved by them, and it's gone through the whole process. So you can imagine their licensing department were like, wait, sorry, you just signed a licensing agreement with this dice company, and they're going to send us over 200 designs, and they want us to approve them all in like 2 weeks. So poor licensing department. They did a great job. But I think it was just the right fit for the sort of scale we wanted to do. And what's most likely going to happen now is a lot of other RPGs are going to go, hey, this is a really good idea. And hopefully they'll reach out and we'll go, cool, we'll do the same thing for you. And we can have, I mean, don't get me wrong. Don't quote me on this, anyone, but I definitely may or may not be wanting to make Starfinder versions of these. So, or if you're listening, BattleTech.
Oh, you're a fan of BattleTech, Alex, is it?
No. Just a little.
No. Yeah.
So, why Pathfinder? Because it was the right place at the right time. And I think in a lot of cases, success comes from being able to adjust to finding those right place, right time moments as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And they do look terrific. And something that Scott's in the chat, and he does like collecting lots of dice. And I think you've got quite a few sets of dice as well, Ross. But something I've noticed is that sometimes, especially with the ornate designs, the printing can be a little bit hard to see, or it's a little bit off, and some numbers you can't really make out. Whereas looking at the pictures of your dice, they look as crisp as anything. Like so clear. Like how did you do it? Is it sort of? I've got no idea.
So I have a design team on staff, and we've been making intricate designs on dice now for quite a few years. We started with our Glyphics range, which is mainly on our stone dice range, and we've pushed the limits of what we can put onto a small piece of metal or stone in regards to surface area. So when it came to designing this, we already knew the limitations on how many point millimeters we can use. So when designing this, because we already had the experience of, we know exactly what looks good on a die and what doesn't, it was quite an easy step for us to design it. The challenge was more making sure we had the right inspiration, that a die would sing what it's about, and designing. So, for example, our sword, there's a D4 representing a sword, a D6, a D8, a D10, and I think even a D12. Every single one of those is not just the same design, just put on a different die. We actually did a different design for the D4 and a different design for the D6 and a different design for the D8. So sitting there and going, how can we make the sword look the same but feel different across each die was probably the bigger challenge than how can we make it look crisp or look good on a die. Because you're taking the same element and going, I need to make this different, but I need to make it the same. And I feel like that was the challenge. But the way we did it was we have a very strong team. We communicate a lot. We'll sit there and we'll jump on our Zoom calls and work out things together and throw ideas around. I very much perpetuated a environment in our team of that openness. Everyone has an idea. No, it doesn't matter if a warehouse manager thought of a really cool dagger design. Dusty can jump in and talk about it, for example. So everyone gets involved. And I guess the ultimate secret behind it all is every single person I've hired, I headhunted. I didn't take any resumes, and they love dice. I mean, everyone was a customer before they were a staff member. So I know that every single person in the business is obsessed and loves and respects and cares about dice. So that the work towards it's going to go that way.
Yeah, amazing. And Ross, you've been quite quiet. Have you got any questions?
Well, we've got some questions from Dangerlings.
Yes.
Scott has asked, our very own Scott cast member.
Our very own Scott.
Has asked, what was it like running a Kickstarter? Or running a Kickstarter? Yeah.
Well, that's we're still running it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I was saying, what's it like at the moment?
But it starts, months and months ago. There's probably more energy and effort that goes into a Kickstarter before the Kickstarter launches than the actual launch. In fact, it's a cathartic sigh of relief once you've pressed the launch button, because you're like, cool, there's nothing else I have to literally do now. If it's a mistake, it's there and it's done. So I was quite fortunate, or I was, but Sean wasn't, because it was his idea. I was like, cool, so you're leading this project. Tough luck. Wipe my hands of it, step away. So I set up a strong team. We had Sean, Alexi, and Marty, who were there to get this up and running. Now, because we never run a Kickstarter before, we also brought in a Kickstarter subject matter expert, SME, who had run multiple Kickstarters for dice before for other companies, and they came in as an advisory to make sure we didn't miss anything obvious, like make sure you put a goal. So they had made sure that we covered all the basics, and because we had a strong management team running this, they would make sure that every element of the business is doing the designs, getting the manufacturing ready, getting the advertising ready, getting the social media ready. So it really is like a 10, 15 person job to get a Kickstarter ready to the level that we've done it. And now it's to sit back and hope that we make enough money to pay for everything that we did setting it all up. The good news with what we've done here is this doesn't have to stop at just a Kickstarter, right? We've designed 200 designs that can be there in the future, because again, even all three of you, you're not going to know what your next character is going to be right this moment, or your next character's character. So if we only had this Kickstarter available once, well, what happens when you level up or when you get a new character? You're going to be like, well, cool. Unless I bought one of everything, I can't really have all the dice for my new character. So there's got to be ways for us to make sure that you can keep going back to the ye old shop and buy a new sword and buy a new character die as well.
Good old ye old shop. And I know that you mentioned it earlier on about the shouting at the wall and things. Based currently how it's going, would you consider another Kickstarter, or has this restored them in your eyes?
I still don't like Kickstarters.
Oh, no, I think that's fine.
I honestly, like, for me, even sitting there and when the guys were like, so Alex, when are we fulfilling this? I was like, can we fulfill it straight away? Luckily they have a bit more of a sense of mind than I did at that moment. And like, no, we have to set up different fulfillment times in case we have too much, so we can make sure the workshop's making. I totally understand that. But I've already made all the blanks, for example. So we have all of our dice shapes already made in aluminium, but without any anodization or laser etching. So that as soon as we get what everyone wants, all we need to do is anodize the right color and laser etch the right design. So it's streamlined and ready to go. And again, the Kickstarter is great to bring this to the world and to understand what people want. Is it the best way to do it in the future? I don't know. There's a few options jumping around there. Will I still spend money on Kickstarters? Yes. Will I want to run another Kickstarter? No.
That is fair enough.
I've got a question. So
yes,
you said you've got 200, like about 200 designs. Is that 200 different items and spell like images that you've done? And if so, how did you pick those ones? Have you just gone through like the basic weapons and sort of the spells that people would use in Pathfinder, or?
We picked everything. So we went through every single book we could, and for example, we're doing a meteor set of dice, and it's actually 16. You can get a D6 that's a meteor, or you can get 16 D6s that form together to form a single picture of a meteor on the 6-sided dice.
That's so cool.
But the maximum meteor. So we're in the meeting with Paizo, and they're like, cool, but did you know that a cleric can actually use a positive energy spell upgraded with this ability and this ability to a D12? So we then made a positive energy D12 for that one instance. So the idea was that between Paizo and ourselves, we wanted to make sure that everything is physically possible through our dice. So in the meteor scenario, I remember talking to John and the crew over in Paizo, and they said, yeah, but at the actual super vamped up best, a meteor does 64 dice of damage. And I'm like, okay, well then we'll make the ability to have 64 dice that do the meteor damage. So there's literally not, I'm going to say this and it's going to come out and burn me in the butt. There should be no ability out there in Pathfinder 2E that isn't represented by one of the 200 odd designs. Wow. So and we actually went back to Paizo once we'd found all 197 or so it was, and said, hey, what are we missing? And they had their head rules guy, whose job is to know all the rules. And he's like, oh, you've missed this one? And literally it was like a fringe, like that whole cleric scenario. It was, if this cleric got this feat and this ability and leveled to this sort of thing and multi-classed here, he could use this ability at a certain die level. And so we tried to capture everything that way.
That is extraordinary, and as I'm sure you can see the chat, we're getting some serious love for how deep sort of you've gone with this. Because as well, we were talking about this last week. It's come up before. Pathfinder is known for its depth. It's known for its feats. It's known for its sort of for when you really want to have a deep sort of character, then you go for Pathfinder. So the fact that you've done this not only with just a system but with Pathfinder is truly awe-inspiring. Well done, absolutely terrific work.
This is making me nervous because I play clerics and they have a lot of dice.
Yeah, we have our very own Drum in the chat, Drumbledore, first of his name, and he desperately wants some dice now, and he feels like Holly might genuinely destroy him if he got some. Holly being
no, go there. We only have $400 until our next stretch goal.
Well, I just haven't had
multicolours.
I've got $400 right here. It's like, well, there we go. Yeah. I tell you what, you had it in the multicolours. I was like, oh yeah. Now you're talking my language. I love a bit of multicoloured stuff going on. Do we have any some more questions from the Dangerlings or yourselves for Alex?
I suppose we should ask because you're based in Australia, obviously, and our listeners are generally UK and America. I assume they can still get them without too much trouble, even though they're
we have 3 locations where Level Up Dice team are situated around the world. So we have a team in Australia, a team in the US, and a team in China. So currently we will have 3 fulfillment centers, so that we'll find the cheapest option for where you are in the world, and then we'll send from there. So most likely Europe will probably come from either the US or China, and Australia will take care of Australasia, because sending to Europe from Australia is probably not the smartest of ideas.
That's fair enough. But I mean, we did mention it earlier, that when you were very kind enough to send the dice that we've received, they came super quick. We literally couldn't believe it. And is that important to you? Because obviously the whole ethos of Level Up Dice was like, I want these cool dice, and I want them to be the best in the world, and I want them yesterday.
Well, exactly. I mean, as I said, the reason I started the business is I don't want you to wait 6 to 9 months for dice. And if I live myself up to, I don't want to wait for 6 to 9 months, and it shouldn't be anyone else's decision to wait 6 to 9 months either. Yeah. I want you to still have this in the front of your mind going, I can't wait for these to come. Not the whole scenario where I've seen so many people who've backed Kickstarters a year later going, oh, I forgot I backed these. And look, this is a nice surprise, but yeah, it's not as exciting as I can't wait to use this for my character as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think because of the level of customization you've gone to, of course, if you're going to have to wait 9 months, nobody plans characters 9 months in advance. You're not going to be like, I'm going to play this cleric with this cool club and doing this sort of stuff. It's much more of a, hey, I've got a new campaign coming up. Dan's just started playing Curse of Strahd, and I'm going to make this character. It sounds like Level Up Dice would be the place to go to be like, right, I want this one, this one, this one, and this one, and then it will be there and ready for the start of your campaign.
And depending on how successful we go, one of the ideas we have in place is that we'll have blanks of every color. So we're also right now we'll go blanks of no colors. We'll also be one step further ahead, and then we'll actually have the laser etching at each location around the world. So we could have a laser etch set up in. I was talking about you guys about Ireland. We got a laser etch set up in the US, so that you could order. We would make to order at that moment in your location closest to you, and then get it out to you ASAP. I mean, that's like the ultimate goal. So you get that truly unique set of dice as quickly as physically possible.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely terrific. And is the plan, I've got a question, because obviously you've got these beautiful dice. Is a plan to accessorize? Will there be sort of dice bags to go with it? Because I know that one of our Dangerlings, B Daddy, he makes dice boxes. So would you do something like that? Or is it just the dice?
So we actually had a long discussion about that, because we're partners with quite a few accessory makers. I mean, probably the most famous one is, we're partnered up with Wormwood. And we were talking about how much we could do with this Kickstarter, but I really wanted to go and put my foot down on this one, that we had to stick to a core and understand, because this may not be successful. I mean, there's success, and then there's everyone wants this from now on forevermore. We need to find out if everyone who gets the first lot then wants to keep adding to and getting the next characters and everything else. Because if so, then we'll throw more money at this project and make sure that it's a viable, living, long-term thing. But with anything new that hasn't really been done before in the market, you need to test and you need to decide, well, I need to, being the CEO, how much money the business is going to throw at this idea if we get it back and if we can throw more. Because it's easy to go, you know what, this is a cool idea, I'm just going to keep throwing money at it, and next thing you know, you've gone bankrupt, which happens to a lot of people, unfortunately. But you know, if you can assign a certain budgetary aspect and go, you know what, we're going to test this out. If it's successful, then we know there's a revenue stream, we can then do more. So as far as accessories and everything is concerned, that could be an option down the track. I mean, we'd love to do something for the complete set, maybe a nice little wall hanging piece that has one of every die or something else as well. But until we can proof of concept this to the stage where we know it's an ongoing product, then I'm not going to throw too much complexity into it, other than 8,000 potential SKUs already.
I mean, I wasn't going to say anything, but
all right, I'll say it myself. We'll stick it to one element, and then we'll go from there. And really, everything else is an accessory to dice anyway. So the main element is the dice itself.
Yes, exactly. And obviously, you know, when it comes to accessories like that, my dice bag was made by my sister out of sort of Star Wars bed sheets that she did for Christmas years ago, and I love it. So but the dice, you know, you can always get more and better dice. Excellent. And we've got some more questions from Ross and Dan.
Go ahead, Ross.
I was just going to ask, how sort of like Level Up dealt with the past sort of year and a half of craziness, and how have you had to adapt, I guess, as a company, you know, in this crazy time?
It is a hot topic.
It is, and it's probably I'm going to go out and say this on record, and I'm sure some people may say it's not the case, but hopefully everyone will hear me out and regard it. Out of all the dice companies in the world, we have probably been hit the hardest because like 85-90% of our revenue was conventions. We designed a product that was all face-to-face, hand-to-hand, white glove service, where all of our customers want to come and see them. We never were an online business. We had the online business. In fact, when we first started, I was like, never online. You can tell there's a trend here. Never Kickstarter, never online. Because I wanted people to have that experience and get it straight away. And also, you know, when we sell our dice, when you buy a set, we actually pull like 2 sets of amethyst out, and you build your amethyst set because every single die is unique. So you can't do that online. So when everything happened, we didn't have a business that shifted online, because most of our customers would actually send us messages going, I'm sorry, we can't see you at, you know, PAX West. We can't wait till we can see you again. We're ready to buy lots of dice when we see you again. And that's a great message to get as like from the heart of things. But as far as the business is concerned, it's kind of like the opposite. It's like, no, I really need some money to get to the next convention. So when you have that big, huge paradigm shift, one of 2 things happen. You either die or you adapt. And luckily, I have an amazing team, and I shifted a lot of our team's focus points from conventions to working more on our manufacturing side and looking for wholesale partners and doing things like finding licensing partnership agreements. And this is where a lot of conversations like we had with Paizo came out of this, because all of my team's energy that normally is rooted towards the 20 or 30 conventions we're doing a year was spent going, how can we support all these other companies who need dice? You know, a well-kept, I guess not really a secret if I'm going to talk about it, but we don't just do metal and stone. We also do other materials like plastic. It's just not a Level Up Dice product per se. So we were able to help a lot of people in manufacturing side of things, because that's one of the things that we're really good at. And so that was a huge shift, got us through 2020. I won't deny it was a very tough year for everyone. But we're still here, which is amazing. And we've got some amazing new stuff coming out. I mean, this is just the first of like, I've got 6 major projects for 2021. So
fantastic. Cool. Yeah, a baptism of fire, and I'm very, very glad, I'm sure I speak for everyone, that you've made it through thus far, and long may it continue. It's been a difficult time. And
Sure has.
yeah, oh, hell yeah. And Dan, you've got a question there. I think you're eager to ask, Alex.
I should say, do you want to just tell everyone again how they get these dice? Because I think we said right at the top of the show, but might as well say it
They
again
go over
now.
to your place, they rumble you, and they take your set.
Just
Quickest
the
way to
it
get the
should be.
dice, guys.
I love that personal
I'm armed
touch,
with metal
that,
dice.
that real home service. I mean, it's great.
Do I have to answer seriously? I will. No, just kidding. We actually have a Kickstarter running right now. There's 21 days left to go. And it is the Adventurers Curated Dice Collection. If you want to search it up, I'm sure there'll be a link in chat probably popping up soon. You bid whatever amount you want based on roughly the dice you want to grab. But then as it finishes, we'll go into a backer kit, which is like a shop, and you can actually add more money, which is great for everyone. If you decide, I really wanted that extra D20, you're not stuck with just what you've backed. But whatever you back in the Kickstarter helps us with unlocks. So the important thing is try to help us get as many unlocks as possible. At the very least, if we get the 30K, we're going to have 10 dual colors, which is 20 different varieties of color. So, that's 4,000 different options of dice. So if we get the 30K, you get 4,000 different options of dice, which I think is more than enough for everyone. Yeah. And if you're not happy with 4,000, well, then back at the 40 or 50K. And we'll hit 8,000. It's fine.
Yeah. Terrific. So, thank you to the wonderful Steph for putting the link in the chat. And then the wonderful Ross, who also put the link in the chat, but just a little bit slower. So that's terrific. So, go and check out the Kickstarter and support that. And do you have a question, Dan? We still have a little bit of time left.
I guess there's one last thing we need to do. I have Velda's D20 here. Ross, you have Fulton's D20. Alex, I'm sure you have plenty of D20s. I feel we need to roll these. We need to see what kind of numbers these dice pull up.
Okay.
At least mine will be on screen, right?
Alex, a little history lesson on my character. I play Fulton Battlestone, and in the podcast, I roll really, really badly all the time. There's times where I've rolled 2 natural ones or 3 natural ones in a row most of the time. I had a fumble card for a year, I think, that I had to keep on me until I had to get rid of it.
Yep.
So I'm hoping these dice are going to be no pressure.
Before you roll it,
okay.
Before you roll it, Dan, should we tell them that on purpose we made sure his would roll low?
Exactly.
That is a level up guarantee that Fulton Battlestone will continue to roll really badly, irrespective of the quality, the best dice in the world, and Fulton still rolls worse. So there we go. Right. We've also got Scott is going to roll his Caragor dice.
Yes.
Ooh, he said he was going to save them to roll on the show, but he's going to roll one tonight. So let's see what kind of numbers we get from these beautiful, beautiful dice. Here we go.
Oh, look at that, 19 off the bat.
19 off the bat from Alex.
Can you see that?
Yeah, I saw it. It appeared over your shoulder like a glorious emerald dice parrot, and it was a 19. So that's pretty good. What numbers have we got, lads?
It's a 17 for Velda. That is a very
17. Well, there we go.
Just to make it interesting, I rolled Old Bad Moon alongside it. The party killer dice came up an 11. Blew Old Bad Moon out.
Oh gosh, even Old Bad Moon is being intimidated by these dice. So there we go. And Ross, I dare to ask. It's a 12 from Scott. So Scott got a 12. Let's see what Ross got.
I think it might just be me because I rolled a 3. Rolled a 3. First roll of the dice.
Thank goodness.
You're never going to see that battle axe.
That's amazing. But of course,
at least it looks good when I roll it. So that's good.
It does. It does. Now that's important because a special thing we established earlier are the weapon dice and the spell dice and things like this. So do you want to roll that battle axe and see what kind of damage Fulton would do if he managed to hit the stationary dead thing with a 3?
Yeah, let's do it.
To himself from the 3.
Yeah.
And that's a 1 on the damage as well.
Oh my goodness. Well, there we
Couldn't
go.
write it. Couldn't write it. Could not write it.
Absolute